Hey, welcome back everybody. Another Flashback Friday here on the 3GB. I am Gentleman94, and I'm going to be taking you through a game that I've really been wanting to kind of touch on and play again because it's one of my favorite games for the PS2. It is Castlevania Lament of Innocence. And this was one of my very first Castlevania games that I played in 3D. This is one of the early 3D games. The camera angle is a little wonky from time to time, but all in all, it's actually a pretty solid game. It's got great music. It's got really kind of fun level design. The one downfall, of course, is that it is 3D, and early days of 3D, camera angle can be a little finicky. As you can see here, I've got a lot of saved game data sets here on my memory card, so we're just going to load one of my last ones and just kind of show you what's going on a little bit. So this is Leon Belmont. It's kind of a retelling of the Castlevania lore, and we play as Leon Belmont. And as you can see here, I've got actually one whip called the Vampire Killer. It's kind of your traditional whip that you have through almost all the Castlevania games. And you get it through kind of a roundabout way, and it's not a bad whip. It's probably one of the best whips in the game, but it kind of lacks that flair. I preferred like the fire whip or the ice whip, you know. You get different types of whips, of course, and you can really enjoy yourself with mixing and matching armor sets and relics and stuff like that. Not as in-depth as you would like it to be, I'm pretty sure, but you do have a nice selection of weapons and accessories and armor and things you can equip, and it is kind of fun to mess around with different loadouts, things like that. One of the downfalls of this game is something called the RealTime Window. It's a decision that was made by, I guess, Konami, to put all of your item usages and all of your equipment, accessories and all that, being able to be used through a real-time window operating off of the right analog stick. It makes healing very quick, but it makes everything else very difficult, because here you are in the heat of battle and you have to try to switch out your weapon. Proper healing. You can also equip and turn on and turn off your relics through the live action real-time radio menu. And I don't like that. That was one of the downfalls I had with this game. One of my complaints is that when you're in the heat of battle and you've got, all these guys trying to murder you, it makes it very difficult to have to think about, oh wait, I need to go over twice. Okay, there. Oh, I missed it. I need to go back. Okay, now I'm in the right section. I got to find what I need. I need healing. There. It just makes things complicated. So this is the kind of beginning of the game. This was the first area that you kind of get into. And this is going to be your level selection, basically. There are these little circular round discs here, as you can see. I have an extra one called Boss Rush Mode, which isn't really unlocked to beat the game. But you have all of these, you have all of these different areas here, and all of these will lead you to the next levels. In those levels, you have to fight bosses. You kill the bosses, they give you an item. Some cases, they give you different elemental whips. You can get a fire whip, an ice whip, a lightning whip. You can also get, I think, your standard whip, and then, of course, the vampire hunter whip. You might be able to get a few more, but it's been a long time since I played the game, so I don't really remember everything about it. Castlevania Lament of Innocence had a pretty decent positive reaction from reviewers and from gamers. It was enjoyable. It's not overly complex, of course, but it's a lot of fun to play. Music is absolutely phenomenal in this game. I'm not going to have the music really up here because I don't want to get flagged for music that I don't own. But if you have a chance, go back, listen to the soundtrack for Castlevania Lament of Innocence. It's really, really spectacular. It goes right along with what I love out of, say, Castlevania 4, Castlevania 1, Castlevania 2. I mean, it's got that classic feel to it, but a little bit of a modern mix, because this is out on PS2, so they do have to change up things a little bit. Now, Lament of Innocence is set about, I'd say, 1094, and it focuses on the origins of the, I guess, series protagonist, which in this case is Leon Belmont. Now, you have to fight, of course, Dracula. He is not an easy fight. He is a difficult fight. I'm not going to show you because I'm sure you can find that on YouTube. I just kind of want to talk about the game itself. So the idea here is that Leon Belmont, arrives at the Castle Dracula, right? And he meets this guy named Ronaldo. And Ronaldo is kind of an alchemist. He hangs out in his cabin outside the castle, and he has things you can buy, like accessories or items or anything like that. And he also gives you your very first whip. He also can craft whips with alchemy to assist in killing different monsters. You do have, of course, a heavy attack and a light attack, but what you can do is you can chain combos together. So, for example, you can hit square, 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 you can hit triangle, 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 or square, square, triangle, or triangle, square, triangle. You can go all sorts of planes and you can combine them. The bosses are fairly simple. The main bosses, like this one here, you have this weird worm that comes out of these different pipes. The only way you can do damage to it is to pop its eyeballs. These four craters in the ground. And once you do that, this weird spore thing, I guess is a brain or something, comes up from the middle one, and then it will transport between all those other ones. And you have to kill that. It's the only way you can do damage to this boss. Otherwise, you can't touch him. So you got to kill this little brain thing. I remember when I first played this game, it's like nothing I'd ever seen before. I mean, remember, this is a 3D Castlevania game. Now, this wasn't, of course, the very first 3D Castlevania game, because we had some 3D games come out for the N64. I never played those. So I can't say they were any good. I can't say they were bad. I never played them. I did hear camera angles are, again, kind of wonky, so they have improved that here in Lament of Innocence. But still, you kind of zoom into the camera screen, and it's difficult to see what you're doing, and you can't really pivot the camera too well. And even then, it's only a little bit, it's very difficult to do. What Castlevania game wouldn't be complete without a fight from Medusa? You can see here Medusa is a gigantic head of snakes. She's not hard, guys. She's actually pretty easy. You just kind of have to watch out for her movements and kind of learn how she telegraphs different movements. There's a lot more freedom in this Castlevania than there is, say, in Castlevania 4, 1, 2, or 3. Now, you have alternate characters you can play as well. This one here is one of my favorite characters to play. This is Joachim. And Joachim is, I think that's how you say his name. He is like a vampire swordsman. And he has these rotating blades that kind of spin around him. You, of course, have a heavy attack and light attack. You can't block, though. So that's one of the downfalls of this character. You can't block. He's a lot of fun to play because he just freaking hurls these deadly swords at enemies. And you can spear him, you can flash him, and it's a lot of fun. It's very satisfying. On top of that, we have a character by the name of Pumpkin. And Pumpkin is just that. He's a pumpkin. He's wearing a onesie. He has hands that I guess are some sort of a hard candy. He's got a pumpkin for a head, and he whips you with what looks like a ribbon to me. I don't know if it is, but that's what it looks like to me. I mean, he's very strong. He can do some serious damage, but he's a pumpkin. Every time he walks, he squeaks, so it's a little annoying. So this is actually my very first time really doing much with him right now. I had him unlocked before. I just ran in, saved the game because I didn't really feel like playing him. And that's where we're kind of at right now. I don't really feel like playing him. I'm going to go into a level, show you a little bit about how he operates, but I'm not really too concerned about, playing as Pumpkin. It's kind of cool, but I wouldn't really do it. So as you can see, I'm basically just whipping the crap out of things, and that's really what Castlevania is all about. How much you can kill and how many times you can whip something before it hits you. Now, even though this game is 3D and it doesn't have that same Castlevania feeling to it, it still comes pretty close. And yeah, the 3D is a little wonky at parts and in places, but overall, it's a fantastic Castlevania game. It really kind of pulls you into the world. Highly recommend you go out, find it, play it, and really enjoy it because it is a great Castlevania game. And that's going to do it for this episode of Flashback Fridays. Tune in next Friday for another look back at some of those awesome games that we grew up on. Hope you enjoyed this look at Castlevania Lament of Innocence. We'll see you next time here on 3GB Flashback Fridays.